Lucky to be in this beautiful country and not in Belmarsh prison like Julian Assange.
People in the countries that we invade for fake reasons, like weapons of mass destruction, like our invasion of Iraq. It's quite interesting to see now that in the Ukraine it appears that the US has laboratories that are manufacturing weapons of mass destruction, as they accuse Saddam Hussein of. That would be the reason. That profit from these illegal wars, and the people that pay the price are us. He's been through, I think it's 18 courts. It's really lawfare. They're not evidence put before the lower court that the American former is a kicker from the Supermax court, and they tried your perimeter, and the king or the queen has nothing to do with it. In the 21st century, and guess what? Okay, I've got a lovely research. One more Steve. 7 letters, G-O-N-G for Warren and Steve. Thank you, Steve. His wife here to end the strong. Let's go! After 7 years, the Ecuadorian government changed. A corrupt government came in and accepted a $4.2 billion US loan in exchange for revoking Julian Ecuadorian Embassy Ecuadorian citizenship. The British police then broke international protocol and international law and entered the Ecuadorian embassy and dragged Julian out. You've probably all seen the footage. And the reason he looked so dishevelled is they removed his shape and not focus on the crimes that he revealed. Due process has been ignored. The level playing tyranny is with us. Common law is a British invention dating back to the 9th century of years, and in the 13th century where huge reform took place. Is corrupt to the core, and time for another great document to protect us against the tyranny that is taking place.
Democracy has been resold on it because they're actually breaking the law. But they protected it away from all this life of mine, it's getting better. Since I found out about you and the moon gets shot. It's shining bright. Since I found out what you can do, all the songs I sing are sounding sweeter, and the mountain winds are now blue. Words all come together. Since I found out what Julian can do. And oh, I used to dream that I would find someone like you. And now I can't believe that all my dreams have come true. This heart of mine, it's beating faster. 'Cause I'm stuck on you like glue. I'm stuck like glue. My world, our world, it's like heaven above. Since I found out about you. It's getting better. It's getting better. Since I found out about you. Since I found out about you. And the moon it shines, it's shining brighter. Since I found out about you. Since I found out. Since I found out about you. Since I found out about Julian Assange too. Yeah, freedom, freedom, freedom too. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Folks, we're here to say Julian Assange should be set free. Let no one either confess to some crimes or get the death penalty when we find the guilty in the country
of most of the things in life that keep us all behind these prison walls.
Citizens in the world, governments will abuse us and use us and ill-treat us, and it'll get worse and worse. So we, citizens of the world, needs to stand up for sensible justice for citizens of the world. And that does not mean following orders from corrupt politicians. They are there to serve the people, not to order us around. And we believe, I believe, our human rights are inalienable. It might be very good having a Bill of Rights, but our human rights are already documented in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We have a right to free speech. We have a right to free movement. We have a right to informed consent, medical treatments. We have a right to work. These rights have been taken away from us. How much worse will it get before you come and join us on Fridays and say, we've had enough and we don't want to take it anymore. We want sensible justice for Australians here, and we want to do what we can to get sensible justice for people abroad as well.
Welcome to the 120th Julian Assange Town Hall gathering. Julian Assange is the Australian journalist who showed ordinary people that the information we receive from our governments and the mainstream media is propaganda and should therefore be ignored. The task of insightful people is to convince others to do their best to suspend belief in the propaganda of governments and the mainstream media until evidence becomes available. Many of the people in governments and mainstream media may themselves be coerced, deceived, or incentivized into creating false impressions about what is really going on in the world. We can see governments and media hyping up particular fears so that we are susceptible to behaving in ways that are not in our best interests. Many young people have in the past been persuaded to join the armed forces, to fight in wars that turned out to have been based on lies. The horrifying nature of war is generally hidden from the public by positively spun news reports suggesting wars backed by our own governments are conducted for humanitarian purposes. The information published by Julian Assange through WikiLeaks revealed evidence of illegal invasions and the subsequent war crimes and torture programs. in relation to the wars conducted by the US in Iraq and Afghanistan. Such criminality demonstrates the humanitarian reasons given for these wars was pure propaganda. It has long been realized that wars are profitable for those who are able to control propaganda through the mainstream media narrative. The propaganda of war creates willing workers. People sacrifice their human rights and are prepared to work under dangerous conditions if they believe their lives and the lives of their loved ones depend on winning a war. If only people knew the truth, things might be very, very different. As Julian famously said, if wars can be started by lies, peace can be started with the truth. If we wish to live in a peaceful world, we better learn the truth. Fear campaigns from politicians and mainstream media abound. Fear of terrorism, fear of disease, fear of climate change are all used to manipulate people into relinquishing their human rights. Julian Assange knew that to understand how the world works, we must obtain evidence that can be verified. Only with real evidence are we able to determine for ourselves whether we need to be concerned about the information delivered by politicians and the mainstream media. Hierarchies of power control ignorant people. We must stop participating in these hierarchies of ignorance and instead base our actions on evidence we can verify for ourselves. We must always have faith in our abilities to communicate and discover truth. We must always encourage free speech. We need to stand firmly on this earth and speak from our hearts. Truth is our power. Unity is our power. Julian Assange is being persecuted for truthful journalism. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye to Julian's suffering. We must fight for his freedom. We must fight for our freedom. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. There's only one decision.
No extradition.
I can't hear you. There is only one decision.
No extradition.
Inmate Julian Assange.
Inmate
Inmate
Julian Assange.
Thank you.
Joe Biden, you go to hell, eh?
Joe Biden is going to hell.
Yeah, tell him, Joe Biden. I see you, pal, Joe Biden.
Yeah, there's a special spot waiting for us.
Yeah, bring Assange, eh?
Yeah.
Bring it on, you going, eh? Yes. Yeah, bring it on, eh?
100%. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, there's a new world coming, and the internet's going to bring justice for us all. And it's going to stand up for human rights, and they can try and censor it, but they just can't stop 8 billion people posting the truth, posting video footage of crimes, and exposing political lies and misinformation. So the only way they're going to try and implement their agenda is to bring about a dictatorship, I believe. They're setting up the infrastructure for a dictatorship, in my opinion, and they're not doing it because they think it's going to look pretty. Why would they set it up if they weren't intending to use it? So the technocratic police and the political police and social credit systems and surveillance of everybody and where they go. It's important we all remember that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is our inalienable rights. There's no judge can take them away. There's no politician can take them away. We're born free, and these are our rights. These are universal rights. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, we all know what right and wrong is. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is about what's right for everybody and it's moral for everybody. And we have this common universal thread amongst all peoples.
Julian Assange set up WikiLeaks so that the people would be aware of crimes and corruption of big business, governments and their agencies. They revealed the US-Afghan war logs. Julian said that when journalism is good, it is controversial by its nature. It is the role of good journalism to take on powerful abusers. When powerful abusers are taken on, there is always a back reaction. In this case, it will show the true nature of this war, being the Afghan war at the time, and then the public from Afghanistan and other nations. They can see what's really going on and can take steps to address the problems. Unfortunately, I cannot see that the countries known as the Coalition of the Willing learned anything. They did not address their problems. We see the leaders of those nations being called kind, sweet old men, or even being knighted. They have not paid for their crimes. Julian said the goal is not to completely subjugate the Afghan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries through Afghanistan and back into the transnational security officer. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war. Claire Daly is an Irish woman and member of the European Parliament. She stated this week that there is no doubt about it, we are living in times of catastrophic crisis where the lives of innocent civilians are sacrificed in the wars of their masters. Yes, in the Ukraine, but not only. Since the plenary, tens of thousands of Afghani citizens have been forced to flee in search of food and safety. 5 million children face famine, an agonising and painful death, a 500% increase in child marriages, and children being sold just so they can survive. They must be wondering what makes their humanitarian crisis unimportant. Is it the colour of their skin? Is it that they're not white? We know that war is evil and the innocent and the vulnerable are often the victims. while the engineers of the war get rich on their blood. We need to know the truth to understand the state of affairs at hand. We hold all those who suffer from the ravages of war in our hearts and in our minds. Julian Assange stated that nearly every war that has been started in the past 50 years has been a result of media lies, and the vast majority of journalists are awful and so distortive to how the world actually is. The result is we see wars and corrupt governments continue on. We have to question whether the world wouldn't be better off without them altogether. Look to Julian Assange. The powers that be are telling you, don't mess with us or we will annihilate you. They used to put heads on spikes at the castle wall. Now they tell lies about you, destroy your character, plan your kidnap, plan your murder, threaten your loved ones, encourage the public to hate you based on lies, ignore the rule of law, destroy your health, and they will eventually ensure your death. Not too quickly. They need to make a spectacle of you. Don't be fooled. Think for yourself. Free inmate, our mate, Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange.
See you later. Take it easy.
We are all Assange.